Hi, this is Michael with Iconasys. Today we'll be doing a walkthrough kind of tutorial showing the 360 product photography image capture workflow when working with an Iconasys turntable. I've gone ahead, I've connected my compatible camera through USB. I'm working with a Canon camera connected via USB to my computer. It's powered on and I've launched the software. If you're working with a Canon, Sony, or Nikon, you're going to want to connect via USB to your computer. If you're working with a mobile phone, iOS or Android, you will connect via IP address. And when you launch the software, you're first going to see this pop up, mobile connection. And what I'm going to do here, if you have your camera that's not a mobile camera, you're just going to hit exit here. And then that will enable the connection of your camera. And obviously what you're going to see here is a live view of what the camera sees. And your camera settings pop up. The other thing I should mention is if there is a newer version of the software available for download, you will be notified, in which you can click this download latest version and walk through the install after you've downloaded it to be up to date with the latest version. I will just close this for the purpose of the demo. One last thing that which you can do if you are not using a mobile phone camera, you'll probably want to disable this. So I'm going to go up into the options area, click this gear wheel icon. Then you're going to go to the about, and you're going to see here enable disable plugins. And what you want to do is select mobile camera SO, uncheck that and hit OK. And basically what will happen is the next time that you launch the software, the IP address for connecting mobile camera won't pop up. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our kind of workflow here. We're just going to talk about the initial setup and then we'll go walk through the 360 shooting. So let me just close our camera settings window here and we will re-enable that. So just on our left-hand side of the software, we're going to see our image capture tools. We're going to dive into each of these. On the right-hand side, you have your image processing and editing tools. And the 360 creation tools. And on the bottom, this is a thumbnail gallery. You don't see anything in here because I've not captured an image, but that's going to display all the thumbnails. This is scalable. You can move it up, you can move it down, and kind of resize it as required. So let's talk about our live view settings first and foremost. Again, we are looking at a live view of what our camera sees. To enable this, if it's highlighted blue, it will be showing a live view. You can enable disable by left clicking with the mouse. You can also view your live view settings and or options by clicking this 3-dot icon. And let's go ahead and just kind of my preferred preferences, I would probably say should suit probably 95% of our customers. Probably want to enable display lines. This can be pretty important and helpful when placing objects for shooting products in 360. The one thing that we do suggest is the middle line. You want that kind of as close as possible to the center of the turntable. I'm shooting with our LumiCube 360, which has a built-in turntable. And you can see here, I'll just try to point at it with my finger here and or with my mouse. There's a little screw there. That's the center of the turntable. So I've enabled my camera so that it's shooting directly at the center of the turntable, and the center of the live view finder and or frame is relatively close to the center of the turntable. That's a pretty important process. With our display lines, we do have an option to show more or less. I prefer 5x5, and I would like to change the colors of these lines too. So I'm going to make the odd lines 1, 3, and 5 red, and then I'm going to make maybe blue for the even lines. And as you can see, as we make these changes, it is reflected in kind of as an overlay over top of our live view window. If you're shooting with your camera in a kind of rotated 90 degrees, you can compensate for that with live view rotation. Also, if for any reason you want to flip the live view 180, you can do so by clicking the 180 button there. Users also do have the option to scale their live view window. Overall size of it, just note it is stretching pixels. You can see here it's 1.17. I can refit that to view at 1.00. This is 1:1. If you stretch your pixels, some things might start to look a little bit blurry. So it's kind of all up to user preference on that. It will be obviously easier if, making the live view larger than what you see on the screen here, just for kind of adjusting stuff and kind of image composition. Users also do have the ability of modeling mode. That's if you're working with strobes. I won't dive into that because we're not working with strobes. We do have a good tutorial video showing how that works already. I prefer to keep live view on after capture. I also prefer to auto select image after capture, and I'll just kind of, when you hit snap, it's going to capture an image. If you have keep live view on after capture, it's going to revert right back to the live view. However, if you choose open image after capture, you can see they toggle back and forth. It will actually display that image that you just captured. So you can choose either one. I do like to auto select the image after capture because whatever images that I do capture, I'm going to want to take into probably your editing area, do some cleanup of the images, remove backgrounds, whatever it may be, and then go ahead and create the 360 file from those or save the image set. So I'll choose that. And other thing you can do, pre-name images. We've got a very good video tutorial on that. You can work whichever way you want. We have a lot of customers who prefer to rename images before they start shooting them. For instance, they use a barcode scanner. They'll go ahead and scan barcode to provide the pre-name, and then they'll capture the images just so they don't mess up during the output step of naming kind of correctly. So you can do that if you want. Again, we've got good tutorial and user documentation on that stuff here. So that's kind of my live view settings. Kind of talk about it as I walk through my 360 workflow. So let me just remove my object here. And what I'm going to do is visually place my object from what I can see in the center of the turntable. And something like that looks pretty good there. And now what I want to do is ensure that my object is positioned in the center of the turntable. And pardon me, before I actually dive into that, we should talk about controlling your camera. So I'm going to enable camera control. And what we can do here is you can see you have full control of your camera settings, your aperture, white balance, shutter speed, focal point adjustment, etc. Let's go ahead and just pre-compose our image. Inside of this studio, we also do have lighting adjustments. So I can go and say, okay, let's change the lighting. The nice thing about that is obviously as you make changes, you're seeing the result in real time. This real-time preview is a very powerful feature, especially for our users who really aren't that familiar with product or studio photography, because it's kind of what you see is what you get before you've gone ahead and captured. Anyways, continuing on. So I've adjusted my lighting. Now I want to optimize my camera settings for my lighting. So I can go ahead and say, and let me just do one thing here too. I'm going to just retain a little bit more light inside of this LumiCube 360 light box. I'm doing that by, these are actually doors that you're seeing right here on the left and the right. And I've just closed those a little bit. That's going to bounce more light back in onto the subject. It looks still a little bit dark here, so I'm going to change my shutter speed. And once it looks good, which I'm going to say that looks pretty good, then we can proceed with probably our image capture. One thing that you can do here, though, just to point out, is we do have, it's profile-based software. You can save profiles in almost every area of the software. What I'm going to do here is this is the profile area. I'm just going to call this Mike's profile. And you can save multiple profiles. So maybe you have a profile for a white product or a black product or a green product, and maybe it's slightly different settings. You can save these and access them via this drop down here. Obviously, if you had more than one profile, you would see a list of the profiles. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, it looks a little bit blurry. So what I want to do is go ahead and view up close. And actually, before I do that, what I should probably mention is this is our one-to-one viewfinder. So if I go and say, show me up close, it's zooming in on where that rectangle is. So let me just go back to fit, and I'm just going to right-click over top of the area that I wish to focus on. And then from there, what I want to do is hit X10, and we're going to see it focuses in on that area. Now, what users have the option to do is adjust their focal point through mouse click. So I can choose to go near and far, and as I make changes to these, you're going to see that the focal point changes. So by clicking this near button here, I've brought my object back into focus, and we basically set our focal point. And that looks pretty good there. So I'm just going to go and fit that back one-to-one, and we can see everything looks pretty well in focus there. The other thing that I'm going to do, especially for 360 product photography, because I want to retain that focal point that I just manually set, is ensure that our capture mode is in MF. So this little slider, you can toggle from autofocus to manual focus. I'm going to leave it in manual focus, and it's going to retain that focal point for every single image shot over the 360 image set. So everything looks good there for our camera settings. I'm just going to close this window. Everything will be retained from shot to shot again. Now, going back into, obviously we've placed our object. Our next step is probably we want to ensure that our object is positioned in the center of the turntable. And what I want to do is a preview spin. So I'm going to hit Control Turntable, and we're going to see this window right here pop up. And just a couple things here. What you're going to do first, you'll probably actually have to go and select what what studio you're working with or what turntable you're working with. You can do that in Options. Then you're going to go Select Turntable. And you're going to see a bunch of different ones. You're going to want to select your correct model in here. If you don't know which one you have, you can certainly email our support department. We'll be happy to help you. So I'm working with the LumiCube. I will hit OK. Now my control turntable settings will be correct for working with the turntable built into this LumiCube. So what I want to do here is do a pre-rotation. My rotation speed is at 0. I'm going to hit play, and you're going to see just how slow that moves. So what I want to do is just increase the frequency at which the turntable turns. Maybe I'll move up to 9. Now when I hit play, you're going to see it moves a whole lot faster, and I could even go up a little bit faster if I wanted. So what I'm doing in this step is visually watching on my screen with the help of the guide markers as well, to ensure that my object is spinning on axis in the center of the turntable. The other thing that you want to do in this step is to pre-crop your subject. So all I did here was I selected the crop by left click, and then I went ahead and click and dragged around my subject and defined an area. And what that's going to do is say, okay, it's only going to take a picture of what's inside this area that I've defined, instead of capturing the whole entire frame. So everything's looking pretty good there. Obviously, you want to ensure as your object rotates, it's not going to fall outside the cropped area. So let's just say, okay, maybe that's our good starting point. We've set our camera settings. Our object is positioned correctly in the center of the turntable. We've pre-cropped our subject. Let me just close the turntable there. And then what I want to do now is start my 360 shooting. So I'm going to hit Shoot 360 button in the top left here, and we're going to go to our shooting mode. We have a few different options. I'm going to choose 360 photography, which is 360 product photography. It's going to capture a series of images based on an image count that we're going to define. For instance, I'll shoot 24, and you're going to see all the angles that that's going to capture. It's even intervals. So probably easier math would be 36 frames is going to be one capture every 10 degrees for a complete 360 rotation. We have a bunch of predefined options inside this drop-down. Users can also enter a custom index. That is a custom number of frames. You're going to see there's a little tooltip here that will kind of define it. So you're going to choose your shooting direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. It's just a radio toggle switch. And you're going to choose your image capture mode. We're going to choose auto. What that's going to do is turn, stop, snap, automatically capturing the entire set of 24 images, again, as we defined up here. Users also will last have the ability to add a delay. So I can say, for instance, if I want to, it's going to be turn, stop, wait half a second as I've defined here, then capture the image. A good example of that is maybe you're shooting wine bottles, and as the turntable turns, then stops, the liquid inside moves kind of back and forth. You can add a delay as long as you want in here, if need be. Now we are ready to get started shooting. I'm just going to hit my start button, and that will automate the 360 image capture process. Now, as we can see, as the images are being captured, they're captured, then they're cropped, and as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, follow my mouse here, we're starting to see the set of images being uploaded into the software. All right, so it's just got finished capture. That whole process took about 1 minute and 20 seconds. It's very fast, and again, that was not even using the fastest turntable speed. We can see in the thumbnail gallery at the bottom, all our images are captured and selected automatically as we chose the live view auto select after capture. I'm going to close the 360 window, and what you can do here if you want is you can go ahead and inspect the images. Just note when you start clicking around, it's going to deselect everything. So I'm just looking here and everything looks pretty good. And we can put trust that all 24 images were captured correctly. I'm going to want to select all my images again, and I can do that by selecting the select all button. And or what you can do is select the first or the last image, then select the other end of the queue and hold shift. And what that's going to do is select everything in between. So our next natural step inside of here would be to go into our editing tool. As you can see, the nice thing about our LumiCube Lightbox and when working with an Iconasys 360 product photography solution, you're probably not going to require much, if any, image editing after capture. They're kind of designed to capture very color accurate, high quality images with pure white backgrounds. But just for the quick purpose of this demo, let's go ahead and just quickly communicate a couple little features inside of here. We do have a full video on our editing tools that you can revert to that will, and or the user guide that will dive into everything in greater depth. So again, I've selected all my images. We do have some background removal tools. Our AI background removal tool will take this image, cut it off its background automatically and put it on a transparent background. So maybe you have some catalog imaging requirements where you need TIFF images on a transparent background, or for your e-commerce web store, you need all your images on a gray background. Whatever it may be, you can use our background removal tools, whether it's our AI BR, dual shot BR, reference image background removal, or even something like the Magic Wand tool to automate and batch remove backgrounds from the set of product images. Again, if you just need white images, white backgrounds, you're probably going to be okay with the images as it sees here. So let's just go ahead. We're going to use our color picker tool. And if you just watch this red, green, blue area, that's going to tell us what color value it is as we move the mouse over top. So we can see we are pure white background directly out of the camera. Slightly off, our green is 254. That needs to be 255. So if we really want, we can take this down, our levels tool down here. Let's just make a slight change. And we're just going to make a couple quick changes here. All right, and let's say that looks good. And we just want to increase our sharpness just a bit too. So I've made those changes. Now, again, all my images are selected. When I hit apply, that's going to apply to the batch image set. And you can see it's quickly racing through everything and batch processing them. All right, now we can see our batch image editing is complete. Again, we could do more stuff here. Maybe we want to add some canvas on the bottom here, or make it a square image. We can do whatever really you're required to do within the editing area. Again, I'm not going to dive into it just for the purpose of this demo. I'm just going to back out of that. Now, our last step would be to enter, well, we can go ahead and output our image set. So I'm just going to give it a name. I'll just call it Buzz. I'm going to put a dash or a underscore, just a placeholder, and it's going to sequentially name everything Buzz dash, because I have sequential naming selected 01, so it'll be Buzz dash 01 through Buzz dash 24. You can choose to resize everything too. So maybe I need my images at 1200 pixels wide for my website. We can do that. We can hit apply, and then a batch process that'll walk through and save everything out. All right, and that was a very fast kind of sequence here, and we can go and take a look, and there's our set of 24 images. So maybe you're using a different application to create your 360 views outside of Iconasys. That would probably be your workflow, just to output the individual image sets. And I should also mention, it's probably good just to have the image set as well. Now, your other step would be to 360 Creator, and inside of this area, what you can do is create a 360 product view. All right, so once the images are imported, it's going to ask if you'd like to resize. I'm just going to choose don't resize. And we're going to see here, it just kind of shows user guide information, just kind of an introduction to creating 360 views. I'm just going to close this. So we'll just take a look at the preview in a web browser. And as we can see here, it looks pretty good. It's spinning a little bit fast, so I probably want to slow down the duration. Also, I can see there's an issue with the buttons kind of cover the object. Maybe I don't want, the zoom or the full screen button. We can go ahead and kind of choose to omit those, and maybe we'll move the location of our left and right buttons to the bottom right corner. So let's go ahead and we'll choose our advanced settings here. And we're going to say omit the zoom button, omit the full screen button, and we want the left and the right buttons in the bottom right. So I will just make that quick change. And the other thing, I think we said duration of 1 full turn. Let's choose 5 seconds instead of 3 seconds. I will hit reload preview. Then what I'm going to do is preview in browser. And there we can see it spinning a bit slower, remove the location of our buttons. And as we can see, a very high quality 360 product view on a pure white background, ready to go for our website, shot really in just minutes. Now, just one last thing here. If these are your settings for your 360 view, you can actually save that setting. If you recall earlier, I talked about the software being profile based. I'm just going to say this is Mic 360 view, and I will hit enter. And that's just going to remember those exact settings. So the next time that I come in, I'll just go to this drop down, choose Mic 360 view, and it will revert all those settings. And really what I can just do from there is just choose the output. So let's just give it a name. We're going to call it Buzz 360. And we're going to choose our export to location. We'll just hit apply here. We're going to see the progress bar going through, and that's just creating our 360 view, and it's finished there. Now what we can do is go ahead and we can see our Buzz 360 file, and we can go and take a look at the 360 view that we just created. And that folder is ready to drop onto our server for 360 hosting and embedding into the website. Again, the company is Iconasys. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here for you. Thank you so much.